Howdy folks, welcome back to World of Tanks with the mighty Jingles. I'm taking the opportunity while the builders outside are being relatively quiet for an hour or so to sneak a video in, and this is me in the Japanese Type 3 Chi-Nu Tier 5 medium tank, and I'm playing alone. I'm not platooned, it's just me alone in a random battle. And I'm not sure what it is about this tank. It's a typical Japanese medium tank. It's not particularly good at anything. But it's not amazingly bad at anything either. I mean, it's very similar to tanks like the M4 Sherman and the T34, and I like the M4 Sherman and the T34, but I don't really like the Chi-Nu, and I really don't know why. As you can see, this replay is from prior to patch 8.11, when this whole bottom end of the map was pretty much shut off. I mean, you could get down there, but you couldn't get back up once you'd gotten down there. And so I think the changes that have been made to this map in opening up that entire side of the map off to my right have been very, very welcome indeed, because fighting on this bit of the map here on this road was very, very static. It was just frontal engagements. There's no space for imagination or manoeuvre, and you just ended up with, well, what you're going to see here. We've got a tier 4 light tank, the Chi-Nu, just popped out, didn't see me, I'm in the bush, I haven't fired. I've got tank destroyers behind me. They've probably got tank destroyers behind them on the ridge, and you really need something with good frontal armour down here, and the Chi-Nu does not have good frontal armour. So I've been spotted, the tank destroyers behind me are also opening up on these guys. We're putting the hurt on this Crusader. Hopefully we can kill him before he gets away. Yep, there we go. Now the Chi-Nu comes out. Tier 4 Japanese light tank, and we're exchanging fire. Now, luckily, it did not appear that the enemy team actually had the tank destroyer backup over here that I had on my side of the map. And the guys that were pushing over the ridge just above us on the left also came down to help. So we beat those guys off fairly easily. So we've got the southern end of the map, and the enemy are just hemorrhaging tanks down here. Everything that comes down here is dying because they're coming at us one at a time, and we're able to mass our firepower against them. The northern end of the map isn't looking bad, but we're not making much progress up there, although we've basically now killed half of the enemy team. And while that sounds good, well, it is good, we've killed half the enemy team, but they still have all their tier 5 heavies left. In fact, the only tier 5 they've lost is the tier 5 light tank, the Crusader. And so all of these enemy tanks are now all going to be bunched up in the same end of the map where they can support each other. And our team are spread all the way across the map. So it's at points like this where you think, yeah, we've got this, where you suddenly start losing lots of tanks. You can't get too confident. So right now we've got an Excelsior and a Wolverine in front of us, and the Excelsior might have a shitty gun, but his gun's more than good enough to penetrate the armour on the Chi-Nu, which is 75mm thick at the best. So I'm going to skirt around and try to hit this guy in the flank and hope that the enemy team... Actually, it does look the enemy team's best chance. They can still win if they all stick together and support each other, and that's exactly what they are not doing. They're just giving us the chance to rush them, overpower them, and outnumber them on our own terms. Our forces are spread out all over the map, but we're not running into more than one enemy tank at a time. And they are actually making this really, really easy for us. But it's important to state that while they're making it easy for us as a team to beat them, it's still not going to be particularly easy for me in a Type 3 Chi-Nu coming up against tanks like Excelsiors and KV-1s and Churchills. And there go my tracks, which could have been a lot worse. Look at this, even the Matilda's caught up with us now. 3-on-1. 1-on-1, a Chi-Nu against an Excelsior? It could go either way, but 3-on-1, alright, 2-on-1. I'm just going to get around his side. There we go, take his tracks off. And then he's actually wasting his time shooting at the tank with the toughest armour, the Matilda, because he's only tier 4. than shooting at me, a tank that he could penetrate with every shot that he fired. So the enemy team just kept making it easy for us. Luckily, well, there was no luck involved. We killed the Excelsior before the Churchill could arrive in time to back him up. Now that could have gone either way. If the Churchill had been any faster and we'd been any slower in killing the Excelsior. And if you look at the northwestern end of the map, where the enemy team did stick together, as soon as it became apparent they were losing, they claimed 6 kills. You know, they've done well for themselves. Never ever underestimate the value of teamwork in a game like World of Tanks. It's a team game, even though it doesn't feel like it sometimes. Murphy's Laws of Combat. Never underestimate the value of teamwork. It gives the enemy something else to shoot at. Something that isn't you. When we came across that Excelsior, there was me and 2 Tier 4s. Who did the Excelsior shoot at first? First the Tier 4 light tank, then the Tier 4 medium tank. Most people in random battles will always shoot at the weakest enemy tank first, or what they think is the weakest enemy tank. So the Crusader was the first one to die, and then, thinking that a Tier 4 medium tank was the next weakest target, the Excelsior shot at him instead, when in fact he would have done much better shooting at me. But he didn't, because I stuck together with teammates. So, even in random battles when you don't have a platoon, it is still possible to take advantage of teamwork. Just keep an eye on the map, and plan your moves around what you see the rest of your team doing. Of course, you know, that's easy to say in theory, and in practice, a lot of the time in random battles, what your team is actually doing is failing horribly. But if you're in a situation like this, where you've already killed most of the noobs and idiots on the enemy team, and the only ones left are the ones that do actually know what you're doing, and you're not in a tank that has the speed, armour or firepower to push the pace of the battle, which the Chi-Nu definitely is not, teamwork wins every time. Of course, all too often you end up in situations where you are in a tank that is very, very capable of pushing the pace of the battle, like the T29 American Tier 7 heavy tank, and you're in a platoon of excellent players, as I am here with Quickie Baby and Ike. And yet your team is the single biggest impediment to success. And so sometimes when there's only so much a platoon can do, and you're getting no teamwork whatsoever from your own team, the concept of teamwork also extends to the enemy team, and with a little bit of imagination, you can get the enemy team to win the game for you. What on earth are you talking about, Jingles? Watch and learn, faithful minions. Watch and learn. In the meantime, top tip, you'll note that while I'm crossing this stretch of open ground before I get into the cover of the low hill there, I've got my turret turned to the left, pointing in the direction of the enemy tanks, not because I have seen something to shoot at, but in case anybody is lining up a shot at me. While I'm crossing that open ground, I might have to give them the side of my hull, but there's no reason why I need to give them the side of my turret as well. You may think that advice sounds obvious, and it is obvious, but you would be amazed at the amount of damage I have done to tanks lit up by adventurous scouts crossing that exact stretch of open ground who have their turrets pointed straight ahead, just giving me a fantastic opportunity to get some free damage in right at the start of the game. The enemy team have just killed a Lux, but it's cost them an SU-100M1, a fast Russian tank destroyer. I really do not understand what it is about guys in fast tank destroyers like the SU-100M1, the T29, the Hellcat, because that speed comes at the price of armour, and you constantly see the, oh there we go, T49. Seriously? Well, that's your plan, is it? Just because you can move really, really quickly in these little things does not mean you should always be moving really, really quickly, because all it means is you just rush ahead of your support and you're the first one to die. However, the point of this replay is that we finally engaged the bulk of the enemy team. You know, we finally have things to shoot at that are worth shooting at, and we're getting shot at in return. We're getting into a good scrap here with some good enemy tanks, and we're winning, and the game is about to end because our team are capping. Now, not being critical of the guys in the cap circle, it's an encounter map. The point is to cap, but the enemy team don't seem to be in any rush to get in there and reset the cap, and it's just gonna, and yeah, enemy tank driver saying enjoy your double. Yeah, this is gonna be another one of those disastrous daily double wins when nobody walks away with more than 400 XP because the game's over in the first 3 minutes. And then Quickie Baby comes up with a plan so cunning you could stick a tail on it and call it a fox. he yells out on TeamSpeak, "Don't shoot the Jagdpanther." The Jagdpanther is about to reset the cap for us. There it is. Okay, now kill him, quick! Yes, we did let the Jagdpanther reset the cap by shooting up our own team. Yes, we were being dicks to our team. Yes, we did screw our team, but our team were being pussies, and getting screwed by dicks is what pussies are for. Was that a dick move? Yes it was. Am I sorry? No, not even slightly. Because now we can continue having a good game, racking up more kills, doing more damage, and making this a win worth actually having. If there is a tier 6 tank that you least want to be playing in a tier 8 match, I am really struggling to think of one that's worse than the Churchill Mark VII. I finally started going down the British heavy tank line. I'm here at tier 6 at the moment with the Churchill Mark VII, and the grind shouldn't be too bad because I've probably unlocked most of the engines and guns by reaching tier 8 in the British tank destroyers and tier 9 in the British medium tanks. And I am liking the British tank destroyers and the British mediums, but I had a real hard time on the test server with the British heavies, at least until tier 8 with the Carnarvon. Really didn't like the Mark I Churchill. Really didn't like the Mark VII Churchill. Didn't think much of the Black Prince. And in a game like this, where the armour, which is the only saving feature of the Churchill Mark VII, is just no good against tier 8. Hell, it's not even good against tier 7s. And the gun only has 148mm of penetration, and the tank can't go faster than 20 kilometers per hour. Hell, I'd rather be in a TOG 2 in a tier 8 match than driving this thing. 148mm of penetration is just terrible. The Russians get 122mm guns that have 175mm of penetration. The Americans get a 90mm gun that has 160mm of penetration. The French get a 90mm gun that has 212mm of penetration. 148? Not so much. Now, you might be thinking, well, the Cromwell seems to do alright. That's a tier 6 medium, and the gun on that only has 145mm of penetration. Yeah, that may be true. But the Cromwell can drive at 64 kilometers per hour and turns at 36 degrees per second. Good luck outflanking people in a Churchill 7. It's probably fairly safe to say that I'm really not having a fantastic time driving this tank. And the only time I have done anything memorable in the Churchill Mark VII so far is when I decided to do something spectacularly stupid. And this is it. It's a tier 8 encounter battle on steps, and I'm going scouting in the Mark VII Churchill. Now, we have a T29 who rushed the middle road and ran into, obviously, a top tier enemy heavy tank, the IS-3, guarding the base. So I'm just sitting behind this rock. I haven't been spotted yet, and I'm waiting. I'm waiting for that IS-3 to get bored. They've nailed the two scout tanks, the Stuart and the T29, and they probably think there's nothing else coming down the middle road. And to be honest, who would expect to see a Churchill 7 doing this in a tier 8 game? Nice little bit of Churchill 7 driving music there. You don't do anything quickly in this tank. It's like driving a TOG, except the gun isn't as good. And it doesn't have as much health. So we're just going for a nice little leisurely cruise straight into the enemy base, and with any luck, we're going to find us some artillery. So, nice weather for a drive. There's the wreck of the T29. You know, you can get good results driving straight down the middle road into the enemy base, but not if you do it right at the start of the game. You've got to give the enemy team time to get out of the cap circle. Come on, little scumbag, where are you? I know you're hiding around here somewhere. Nobody here. And there he is. Oh, and he's just fired as well. Tell me, what's the reload on a GW Tiger P? Oh, hello. Can you even begin to imagine how much this guy must have been raging at his team? I mean, you know, you get overrun by an ELC AMX or an AMX 12T or something in a game like this, and yeah, fair play, but getting overrun by a Churchill 7? The humiliation. So yeah, mission accomplished. The most memorable thing I have ever done in a Churchill Mark VII. Oh, I've been spotted. Oh, T29. And he's fired. And he's missed. And now, he's actually chasing me. I'm playing chasey chasey catchy catchy kissy kissy with a top speed 20 kph Churchill Mark VII against a T29. I fired on the move and I actually hit him, but I'm never going to penetrate a T29 from the front with this gun. And he is actually giving chase. Well, catch me if you can. So, there we go, broken contact. We've led him towards all of our little friends. Now we're going to turn around and start laying the hurt down. I mean, he's stuffed. He's the last one left alive, and there's 12 of us. But, hey, free damage is free damage. Oh, yeah. So, yes, who'd have thought it? Oh, he's missed me again. How bad. So sad. Sucks to be you. So who would have believed it? The Churchill Mark VII. Best scout tank, EU. Not my favourite tank in the game, but it does hold a special place in my heart, thanks to that result. As always, folks, take care on that battlefield, and I'll catch you next time.